The video is not that sophisticated. What these Chinese cyber experts are doing in it, though, well, that's pretty chilling. They've hacked into a Tesla, are controlling it from afar. Its speed, its wipers, even its brakes.
Okay.
And Tesla doesn't seem to mind. It offered them a reward for finding the flaws. Some of these hacks were a few years ago, meaning the threats will grow more sophisticated, and it's not just Tesla that needs to pay attention.
It could be catastrophic. It could be a situation where the car doesn't detect that there's a sidewalk, doesn't detect that they need to slow down, doesn't detect they have to speed up, doesn't detect there's an object there. If 5G is realized, these are the actual kinds of security threats that we need to be mindful of.
Chris Parsons is the sort of person looked to for advice on 5G and security. He's a researcher with the Citizen Lab at the Monk School in Toronto. Assessing cyber safety, the fate of our data, is his everyday. 5G, he maintains, will have implications decades into the future. Think about the roads again, he urges. To move people through them more efficiently with less fuel consumption, fewer accidents, fewer human drivers, will require sensor networks that connect the roadways to all the vehicles in real time. That will take a robust and reliable 5G network.
I think one of the things that we need to think about is there's this national security arm. So third-party state, manipulate the equipment to, detour the prime minister's vehicle into a ditch or something worse. But there's also a baseline concern is the technology secure?
Is Canada ready to have Huawei behind that 5G network? Nordic firms Nokia and Ericsson do 5G as well, but Huawei is the biggest, fastest growing, and one of the most studied providers. Ohio-based Finite State evaluates the software code embedded in devices so companies know the risks before buying equipment. Hundreds of those devices have been Huawei products. And Matt Wickhouse says he found serious security flaws, including backdoors that could allow someone to take over Huawei equipment.
We were able to quantitatively show that about a little bit over half of the devices we analyzed had some form of backdoor access vulnerability. Had software that was close to 20 years old inside of it, sloppy security practices. So we could see that the developers at Huawei were not necessarily making security conscious decisions when they were building these products.
He makes the point it doesn't matter why there are vulnerabilities, accidental or intentional, the potential harm is the same.
Huawei is not the only telco equipment manufacturer that has vulnerabilities in their equipment. We just see more in Huawei than others. The vulnerabilities that we're finding are so easy to find that anyone that would want to exploit them could potentially do that. Whether that's Chinese intelligence, whether that's Russian intelligence, whether that's a hacker group, from somewhere else around the world.
If the vulnerabilities are so clear, who else knows about them? It seems Huawei does. It funds the Huawei Cybersecurity Evaluation Centre in the UK, which has an oversight board, including UK cybersecurity officials and Cabinet Office representatives. The board's 2019 report raises concerns about Huawei's software development and adds, no material progress has been made on the issues raised in the previous 2018 report. It concluded it could only provide limited assurance that all risks to UK national security from Huawei's involvement in the UK's critical networks can be sufficiently mitigated long term. Even so, the UK decided today not to ban Huawei from being involved in its 5G network. It is comfortable with the call. Wickhouse has questions. If, as he insists, many of the problems he says his team spotted aren't that hard to fix, why isn't Huawei fixing them?
They don't know how, or they're choosing not to. And it may be that they're just focused on delivering low-cost solutions with lots of features, and the thing that they're sacrificing is security.
Huawei is clear it stands by its work.
There is no evidence out there that shows that Huawei's products are more vulnerable than Nokia, Ericsson, or the other competitors.
Andy Purdy was once the senior cybersecurity official for the U.S. government. He's now the chief security officer for Huawei USA.
We're pleased that we are subject to such scrutiny around the world. It's really a good thing, and it really helps us. And to be perfectly honest, we think our competitors would benefit from the same kind of scrutiny. Improvements to security are a continuing thing. It's not something that's going to end at some point. We believe we're in a very strong position. We believe that the software engineering revamp that we're doing is going to help very much with the consistency of the security of our products.
Technological integrity is only one concern about Huawei. Canada has to confront a layer of suspicion, not about the company itself, but about China's reach.
China has passed legislation that can compel Chinese domiciled companies, including Huawei obviously, to make modifications in the service of national security interests for the Chinese government. So are there risks? Absolutely.
One of the key issues is on whether we'd be forced to turn over data to the China government. Well, the fact is, we don't have the data. We can't be forced to turn over data we don't have. And the fact is, the process is in place for whether, when, and how we're going to provide support to a Canadian telecom operator are very, very strict.
Huawei is not just making assurances, it has warnings about what happens if Canada says no.
Our technology is the best in the world, and it's not just about speed. It's about how much data comes in a certain period of time. It's about latency. It's about the thousands and thousands of connections that can be made. It's about enabling economic growth in Canada. The financial impact on Canada can be very substantial if Huawei's not allowed to compete.
So consider Canada's calculations now. Economic growth, security, geopolitics of trade deals, Meng Wanzhou's case, the detention of 2 Canadian citizens in China. All issues unavoidably entangled in the decision. And now, the Americans threaten to cut off intelligence sharing if Canada signs on with Huawei.
Canada is a net importer of intelligence, so the risk is if we do acquire Huawei equipment, if we do install it, we may lose a huge trough of intelligence that we rely on to protect ourselves.
Somewhere there may be a decision that satisfies no one entirely, but doesn't entirely offend either. If that exists, Canada is likely looking for it right now.